Hi, Mulema. It's lovely to see
Hi.
you.
Hi. Lovely. Okay. So this is a
So,
school.
so I just wanted to, I guess, we have been asking people for money for a long time for our school. And I just wanted to give everybody a chance to meet you and to just hear a little bit from you about why it was that you wanted to start this nursery school in the first place.
Okay. As we heard of it, this is a school in the western part of Kenya. It is a preschool, nursery school. And as you can see, we just starting. We started some times back. And the main reason for this school is that actually this school is in the village. It is a community. And the community is populated. It is well populated, as I might say. And for the nursery school, sometimes back it was not really looked upon as something really serious or something which is very necessary to families or to children. Why? Because parents or most of the people knew children. After all, they are primary schools, which are distant, some far distance, but they just knew what matters is children getting to school. So distance was also a problem. And now that is why I thought it would be much better if we have a school which is closer so that we have a good start. So that after these children are getting to the primary school, at least they had a good starting point. And also in primary schools, the other problem is they're highly populated. You might find a class, one class has like 80 or 90 children actually being managed by one teacher, because this is a government system. And now you also find that it is a bit difficult for these children to develop very well, because most of them actually, preschool children are starting at an early stage. So one teacher reaching all these children is a bit challenge. Also, we looked at something to do with nutrition. These children also, it is not a big factor parents consider about the way they eat or the way the welfare. So we're also thinking when we start this kind of a thing, we are also going to look at these children's nutrition. What are they consuming? Or is it something which is necessary? And from here, we are sure we can also educate, the community surrounding that this is what is necessary or what is important. Also, as we can also say, because this is a community which is a bit marginalized. Most of the parents here are farmers, so they consider very little in the welfare of these children. So we are sure when we have this thing on the ground in the village all around, this will be like an information center, actually, especially for the welfare of preschool children or the starters, these young people. So these are some of the reasons as to why we looked at this village and said, if we work together or we come together as a partners or a party, we can go over, we can do something so that we have a good starting point for these children, and also to let them move for further education when they are well or they are being taken care of. Thank you.
Yeah. Like, so we first met, I guess, 16 years ago now. It's a long time ago.
Yes.
And the thing that really amazed me about you when we met, because obviously we were much younger, was just how much you seem to know about young children and about their development before you even had any official training in that. So one thing that really sticks to mind for me is that we were going out and you were looking after Noah, and I said to you, okay, we're just going to sneak out. And you said to me, no, it's really important that you tell him that we're going and that he gets that chance to say goodbye. Even if he's upset, at least he doesn't wake up with shock and stuff. And I just remember, gosh, going, you just have such a natural capacity for understanding people at that age. Um, so do you want to talk a little bit about the training that you did and how that qualifies you to sort of run the school and offer this nursery?
Exactly. For sure, what I must say that I had passion for these small children. And maybe what I would say about a bit more, sometimes back, my mom was also a nursery teacher. So the way we were brought up, we looked a bit different from the village. And there's so many things, we went through. Some parents were like, this is not the way to do it, because they used to look like, children are sometimes some people look at children as people who don't think, or people who don't reason, or people who have no brain. But to be honest, the way we were brought up, I used to feel like my mom was really trying to show, like, this is the way, like trying to tell us a child is someone also with a brain, and this brain has to be worked on so that this child can develop very well. But if you feel like the child is doing nothing, then you are hindering or you are killing that child's growth. So I had a passion before, and that is why I chose to go for this training. And before I went for the training, as you were saying before, I was working as a nanny. And anyway, I used to go. I saw when you introduced me even to some parents after you left. But when we were with you, I was like, I feel I'm just for the children, I love them. Some people say they disturb, but me, like the way you think of them and the way you take them, like this child hears, you can hear and talk and listen. So I had that passion before. And also when I went through the training, it also taught me a lot, because the way the child is nurtured, all this people who went to school, who went through this training, really have a lot, which really is not going along with the people who don't understand what a child is. So I learned a lot, and through this, for sure, if all people grew up with this understanding that a child is somebody who has a brain, and this child's brain has to be worked on, has to be developed. And through that, children will grow up in an understanding manner. You see, like when you're hiding from this child, you don't show the child that this is why I'm going out. You remember that example, and I'm happy you remember it. You were going out, yes. Then you are hiding. You're like, okay, hide the child. Don't let the child see me go. But this child has a mind. This child will be like, my mom was here some few times, and my mom is not here. What is going on? But the child will be also disturbed, and the child can do nothing. So confusion will be there. The whole session will not be around. But look at this case where you are here, you are now going. You explain to the child, I'm going, I'll be back. Then I'm there also as a nanny or as a teacher. I'm telling the child, mama is going somewhere, she'll be back. So the child will also learn to know that sometimes mamas go, papas go, parents go, they'll be back. So that understanding, it is very important, which many people look at it as is not necessary, but it's very, very important. So I really value early childhood education.
Yeah,
Really
and
value it. Thank you.
I think that's really it's really interesting listening to you, because it reminds me as well that, like, as parents, we very often don't know these things. Like, it's not just something you naturally know. You have to be taught sometimes. And I think, I'm getting a bit emotional now thinking about it, but I'm so grateful that you were in our lives when Noah was so small, because, you taught me so much about that and about how cognitive he was. And I to be honest, I'd never really thought about early childhood education at that point. I just thought, kids go to creche and whatever. So I think when you started the Montessori training and seeing some of even just the beautiful materials that you were producing on your course, they were amazing. So for me, when I moved back to Ireland, I was only here for 2 months before I got involved in starting a Steiner school, a Steiner kindergarten. And even though they're two different methods, the Montessori and the Steiner, so much of what you were doing in your training was so similar, with the natural materials and things like that, and looking at stories and looking at different ways of I guess for me, that's why I really felt, and again, I think it's probably 15 or 16 years since or maybe it was after Noah was born, when we started having this conversation about the need for nursery school in Western and in the area that, that our family is from. And for me, I suppose, what struck me when I went to Western first was the beauty. It's so beautiful, and it's so it's so green, and there's so much wonderful agriculture going on. But then meeting people and meeting neighbors around, and just seeing the level of poverty that's there, which in lots of ways I don't think exists in the city in the same way, because people can always get something, or they can always get a little bit of job, or but like when the rains don't come, for instance. So the last time when I was with you, 4 years ago, this time of the year, 4 years ago, I remember the rains were really late, weren't they? And it was a case of everybody having crop failure and then therefore having nothing coming in at all. Um, so yeah, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the reality of living in shags, as beautiful as it is, but also what it's like for people in terms of trying to make a living and have enough to eat and all of that.
Yeah, for sure. Our villages are green. They're beautiful. We have the best resources so far. And as you were saying, especially the rain season, it is very nice and beautiful. But what we are just lacking is the knowledge to implement these things for sure. Like, for example, as you're saying, poverty is on a high rate. And for sure, it is not easy to eradicate it just once like this, because the village is overpopulated, as I say. And as we can say, like children, you can imagine these young children, and as I told you, the distance is very complicated. And now because of this poverty or because of this problem, parents don't look at it as a big problem. What they would mind is the food. Is the child having food? Yes, mostly. And the food is just, what they can afford. The child is full. Let me use that example. That is what they mostly look at. So poverty, it is at a high rate. And for sure, the best, let's say, I can also use a little bit of example. You find that, the families which are a bit richer in the villages, the ones which can afford like private schools, let me say, they are very few of them. Maybe people in the government, or maybe teachers, people who can manage this life. And you find like one private school now, it takes like let me like 45 to 1 hour to get to that school. So those ones can afford like maybe school vans or buses to afford that, to take them to nearby town schools which are a bit in towns. So it is very difficult for this for us to eradicate this problem, especially for these young children. So life just remain like it is like that. It is the way it is. And that is why if I may, look, education is just what matters here. Because if we educate people, if people go to school and get this education, they will be able, maybe, from the starting point. Now we see like light in future, or we can see light ahead of us. So if we start like educating, or we start like, exposing this, especially these young children, to good education system, so that they can afford to get proper or better education. Because when a child, is not working well in preschool, tell me in primary school it is the same, secondary school the same. So you find many children are not performing now because of this problem, because of this hunger, as we are saying. It's like food system. A child will come from home, maybe just eat breakfast. Lunch is not cared for. You'll come back in the evening. Nobody's worried about that. But we are not looking at this child like, when nutrition is poor, what education is going to enter the heads of these children? Because already they are disturbed, they are not settled, they are not okay. So it is a bit challenging. That is why we say, when we start this kind of a thing, it is in a community, it's in the middle of the village. We are going to have a lot of, education. We are going to have like information. Yeah? Will be like an information center. Like, we're also going to reach to this like other locals. Like health. I love the health system. You find in the health system, you find like women coming out from like hospitals. They come, they talk to the children, they talk to mothers on how important of immunizing children. But unlike in education sector, where you cannot find such a case, someone is coming to teach the villagers, or someone in the house, you're supposed to make sure the child is having a balanced diet, the child is going to school every day. Even attendance, nobody cares. You find a child attending school for 2 days, and nobody is insisting that you have to go every day, so that you will gain more or much in your life of education. So it is very important that when we do these kind of things, we are going to educate our villages, we are going to reach out to many, so that they can get well with this education system. Mhm.
Yeah, and it's so important, isn't it, to look at it holistically. And I think, again, that's what I've always really admired about you, that you're not just looking at the child that walks in your door. You're looking at, okay, what's the home circumstance, you know and the thing that always strikes me as well is just how hard everybody is working just to survive, um, and I suppose I'm what I'm really conscious of sitting here in Ireland right now is these stories, and not wanting to kind of reinforce some sort of stories about just poverty, and about the fact that Kenya is just poverty, or Africa is just poverty, because there's just so much more to it. And for me, so much of the issue, particularly in the really rural parts, feels like it's about infrastructure, and it's about corruption, and it's about the fact that there's such a huge growing population of people who have so much wealth in Kenya. Like, it's staggering. I don't know if you remember that birthday party that I was talking about before, when Noah was like 4, and we turned up to this birthday party with like a little cheap present that we'd got in the shop, and we got there, and there was like a whole buffet for the parents, with like every possible alcohol that you can imagine, and then a whole buffet for the children. There was 2 boats like that had been decorated like pirate ships, and the kids went out into the ocean to do like this treasure hunt. And I had just never seen anything like this level of. The party bags that we went home with were worth about 5 times more than the present that we had brought with us. And there's such extraordinary wealth in Kenya, and there's such extraordinary wealth in politicians and everything, like you said. And then you've just got such a contrast then in the villages of people not just not being reached with the infrastructures that they deserve. And I really see that here in society in Ireland, where people are marginalized in society because of their education, or where they're from, or that they're from a minority community. They just don't get the same access to education, to proper nutrition. So all of those things then have that knock-on effect. So, if the child is not getting nutrition when they're proper nutrition at 3 or 4, then they're not getting that chance for their brain, their bodies to develop properly. So to me, the more you talked about this, because I think when you told me first, I was like, well, surely primary school is much more important. That's where we should concentrate. And you were like, no, it has to happen so much earlier than that. And, and so that was one of the reasons I wanted to talk today, because I think sometimes people, particularly maybe in more in more Western cultures, can kind of go, oh, well, nursery school is more like childcare. It's a place to send your kids when you're working. That's why I think a lot of people would view it here, rather than being such an important stage of the child's development, and such a key time for them to be nurtured in mind and body and soul. And and again, that's why I really love your approach to this. I just said a lot of things there. Yeah. So yeah. So one of the things that we're hoping to do in the next few weeks also is to get solar panels in. So there's very few places with electricity around, isn't there?
Electricity, sorry?
Yeah, so I'm saying there's very few places in the area where people are connected to get electricity. So one of the things that we're getting, hope my brother is very kindly donating some solar panels to the school through this company that he knows, Sun King. So we'll be able to have lights in the school. And then hopefully that means that we'll also then be able to do things like have sewing programs for women later on. Do you want to talk a little bit about our future plans?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, also, this was just an additional course. And we were thinking for sure, because we have a good space. And, for the school, it doesn't run like from 6 to 6, the whole hours. No, for the little one, there is also time. We can also have a good plan. Because also the same village where we come from, and that is how we grew up. It is very obvious, very real. Because things didn't work from bottom, as I'm saying. Now let's say that preschool, as they grow up, there are so many problems. There are so many challenges. There are so many school dropouts. And that is why we realize it's only education which is going to control all this. And the dropping out of school, it's not the end of life. We still have life. We can still acquire more skills as we grow up, as we age. So that is what I also saw. We had that in mind. Like if we start such a course, just a short course, let's say, for these young ladies, especially girls, I always feel because I was one of them and we grew up through that. So if we can have such kind of a course like, sewing machine, so that these girls who are dropping out, they can maybe have also another chance to develop in the village, because the village life is, you're born, you're trying education, it's either it goes through or it doesn't. Then marriage is there, either marriage is working or it is not working. Then problems are beginning from there, or maybe there is lack, your marriage works and you develop like that. So we are looking at these ones whose things are not working well. Let us say like for the girls who are dropping out of schools, if we can have this kind of process, it will be an information center for these girls. We shall, apart from even, the moment we have that center as we are doing this, we see practically this is what they can do. They can earn a living. They can earn a living in a way that, you can have this basic education. You know how to sew. You can do it by yourself. Getting a machine is not a very big problem. You can work a little bit for some time, and you can get even one machine. That is already starting a business for yourself, or your own, or your family, or your children. And that will be making them earn their living, which is very important. And also, as the school is growing, it is also another way, as they can create a little bit of small, we are not saying it will be like income for the school actually, because we are not going to charge them like huge amount of money. If we do that, we will not get them. They'll not manage. They cannot manage. So just a little bit, maybe which can keep the center also going, because we are not going to, we don't have like a place where forever and ever the money will be coming from. So these are some of the ways, because even inside the school, we have to sustain it. We need a teacher forever. We need like a guard, someone who is taking care of that place, cleaner, someone to clean. So if we get just a little bit of that like income, we know it will push this school going. It can run even itself in the future. So that is why we were thinking this center is not only going to be for the small children actually. It can develop a lot of people, or a lot of people in the village, because they are there. They are there. We cannot even, in fact, I'm very sure when they see this school is already started, we shall see many people there coming even to look for just a job to sweep or do something, because the village is seeing something which is new and beautiful, something which has never been there again. So that is why we thought of, if we can start this like a machine, several there, it will be of great help. And also, not only, we can have like a counseling center when these girls are coming to do this work, this sewing. The one day they're not going to do that. We have one or two, even counseling, informing them, or more teaching on life experience, and they need it. Because what I believe in, people go wrong, people just destroy their life because of lack of knowledge. But the moment they are equipped, or the moment they live in this life of education, there might be a change. Not even might, there will be a change, I am sure. And their families, it will carry on, it will move on like that. And we might see a change in our villages and in our communities in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, I just love the way you talk about it, and I love the way that you have always held this vision. So, our first fundraiser, I'm realizing, was almost 13 years ago. We did a gig in Limerick, and we had lots of fabulous people like Carl Spain and the Brad Pitt Light Orchestra, and Onan and Molly of Sulawan all kind of came in to support us. You weren't there, unfortunately. You've yet to come to Ireland, but life happened in between, didn't it? And lots of things. I moved back to Ireland and all of this happened. But what has amazed me, again, I'm going to get emotional, but what's amazed me is that you've just kept this alive, and that you managed to raise two boys, and at the same time, with work that is not very stable and not very well paid, that you managed to save enough to buy this piece of land that the school is being built on. You're just extraordinary. I think that Celestine Makoha should be president of Kenya. So I just feel very moved to be able to do a little bit to help support you from this side to raise the money. And, you know, I love the fact that you talk about it sustaining itself in the future, because I think that's really important as well. You know, relying on donations from across the water is, you know, it's great to get started, but really I think that vision that you have of it being self-sustaining in the future is wonderful. And I think, you know, you and I will both really work to support that happening, because it's so vital. It's so vital that it, as you said, you know, I'm imagining when you throw a stone into the lake, it ripples out, you know, that idea. So just to wrap up, because I can hear Mzee making a lot of noise in the background. The challenges of being in a cyber cafe and not having Wi-Fi at your fingertips. So at the moment, what we need to get this going, because we really, our heart, it's whatever date it is in February. What date is it in February? The 10th of February. Yeah. We really want to open in May, don't we? That's our vision. So, and I'm coming there the first week in April to spend some time there with you, and for us to really get that chance to finish and to do whatever we can do. I imagine we'll be painting, and so what we really need right now is money. And one of the ways that we are raising money at the moment is through these beautiful hottie botties that my gorgeous friend that I swim with, Cherie White, has designed and made. I'll be bringing you one of these, Moulamwa, even though it's boiling there for cold Nairobi nights. So she designed them for swimmers, but actually what I've found is that you can wear them all the time and wear them to bed, particularly when it's 3 degrees outside of the day. So those are going to be on sale, and €5 from every bottle will go towards the school. But also we have a GoFundMe campaign. And if you know me personally, I will accept cash, checks, whatever you have. Every single cent of the money goes directly to the school. Celestine or I are not being paid at the moment. It's completely voluntary. Obviously, once the school is up and running, Celestine will be paid the correct wage for this, for managing and teaching in the school. And we will also then, as Celestine already said, be needing to have a support teacher, somebody who helps maintain the garden and does security and whatever in the building. So there will be costs involved ongoing as well. So at the moment, we're probably looking at around another €15,000. With the pandemic and everything, costs have changed. So we are looking for a lot of different quotes now and trying to see the best way to get things finished. So we would really, really appreciate any donations that you can make. We're in the process of setting up officially as a charity. At the moment, we'll be registered in Ireland. So all of that will be done officially. And as you can see, it's a really needed and necessary project to support, run by this incredible woman that I'm very honored to call my sister-in-law. And anything you can do, please share this. Please let people know about it. And also, I'll also be gathering some materials. So Celestine, can you talk a little bit about what kind of materials you might need that I can stick in my suitcase?
Thank you so much, Joanne. I'm thanking you for the course. What you're doing is extraordinary, actually. Your time and the financial, everything, that pushing, it is not easy, I know. You're taking a lot of time, and I'm thanking you because of that. You have a heart. So for now, what you can manage, let me not say this and this, because I know it is far, it's also distance. And I know what you can only move is what you can manage. For the preschool material is anything which is tangible for the children, you know, be it balls, be it crayons, be it like even used books, you are welcome. And anything else, let me say, maybe let me not, I cannot say like bring this and don't bring this. What you can do, maybe you can just tell me this is what I have, and is it of use? Then I'll tell you yes. But I know most of them are yes. I'm not going to tell you I want this or need this, because it's taking hearts of people, of yourself there. So what you can manage and what you think it is possible for you to travel, to move with yourself, because also, you know, bulk or whatever, it also matters. So I'll leave that ball into your hands. And maybe what I would say is the example I've given, like the books, the new ones, the used ones, it is very important. The balls, the play materials, all that is very important. So what you can manage yourself, please, we shall really appreciate, and it will be a step
Great.
already.
And I think it's, you know, I think very often, you know, and for particularly when we were hoping to open years ago, people contacted me from lots of different Montessori schools and stuff saying, you know, we'd love to send materials. So I really appreciate what you're saying. And I think at the same time, people really do have a heart to help. So it will be great, you know, we can give more information about the kind of materials. Also, of course, we don't want to just be flooding lots of things from here when we can purchase some stuff in Kenya. So again, cash is great, but we can sometimes get better quality stuff here more reasonably, just with the way things are there. Unfortunately, good quality stuff in Kenya is so expensive. So that's the reason for gathering some materials from here. So yeah, I'll be I'll be coming with one change of clothes and a whole suitcase full of books. But yeah, thank you, Melanwa, so much, Celestine, for coming on here today and just sharing a little bit about your passion and the reason why you wanted to do this and the need for it. And yeah, as I said, I'm so in awe of you and your tenacity and how you've managed to get this far. And I just really hope that people will see that and will get behind the school. Oh, it's called the Kittens Maloney Nursery School. A few people have asked me why. And the reason is that I was doing a master's when I went to Kenya first. And I'd applied for the master's. It was in theatre and media for development. And it was very expensive and I did not know how I was going to pay for it. And literally the week before I was going on the master's, I got a letter saying, you know, you need to pay fees in advance or, you know, some fees or whatever. And I was like, gosh, I really want to do this, but I don't know how to do it. And the next day I got a check in the post from my aunt's estate, Kittens Maloney estate. And it was in euros. And when I converted it to sterling, because I was going to the University of Winchester, it was to the cent, to the penny, the amount that I needed to do my master's. So it was a real sign for me that I was on the right path, and I absolutely was, because Kenya changed my life, and I'm so grateful to my family there and to Celestine for their part in that. And yeah, so that's why it's called the Kittens Maloney Nursery School in her honor. And I'm so grateful again to Celestine to be calling it that, and honoring my aunt and her part in my journey to Kenya. So thank you so much.
That is great.